So in terms of how to divide things, I'm going to do an example. So the bus stop is the best method, and really I recommend this for all questions. And actually, short division is my preferred method for even the ones with long division, simply because time is of the essence, and actually you can short divide everything as long as you've got strong enough multiplication. So how do we set it out? Well, if I saw this, it's important I know which way round it was written beforehand. So was it 6, does this read as 6 divided by 186 or 186 divided by 6? I know it does say it there. The answer is 186 divided by 6. And it's very important that we don't get these the wrong round, because this answer versus this answer is going to be very, very different. This one's going to be a big decimal answer versus well, a much nicer one. So it's very important with division that you do get them the correct way around. So that's an important thing to learn, that the number you're dividing goes into the middle under the bus stop, and the number you're dividing by goes outside. And now the way we solve this is we simply ask ourselves, how many times does 6 go into 1? It doesn't, so we write 0, keeping everything nicely in their columns. We then carry the 1. Now again, I've seen people write it like this, or I've seen people sort of write it like this to imply they're linked. Either way, we've now got an 18. So now I ask myself, how many times can 6 go into 18? Well, that's 3 times. If there was a remainder, we'd carry the remainder over, but in this case, it goes in perfectly with the remainder. So I say, how many times does 6 go into 6? 1 time. And so now my answer is 31. And this is me being a bit of a mathematician, but I actually don't like you leaving it as this. I would always rewrite my answer and underline it, because this technically is your working out, not an answer. So I wouldn't just stop there. I'd actually always rewrite out your answer. The same way, I don't know if you noticed, I did here. So this is my working out, but this is my answer. What else? Can we try some perhaps slightly harder ones? I think we probably can. Let's do, I'm just going to test it that it works nicely. I'm going to just show you what could be a harder one. 225 divided by 6. The reason this is harder is it's going to work out as a decimal. And I just want to show you this again. This is perhaps some of the higher level questions, but I think it's just worth showing that how cool and how good this bus stop method is, that it works even with decimal answers. Let's do it. 6 into 225 goes like this. 6's into 2 don't go. So carry the 2. Again, carry the 2. 6's into 22 do go. They go 6 times 18, so they go also 3 times. But there's a remainder. The remainder between 18 and 22 is 4. So I'm going to write here 4. And notice how I need space. And they've set it out beautifully here. One of the big things that can really hold people back is not setting it big enough. So if in doubt and you find this hard, set it out like this. If you give yourself absolutely loads of room. So there's lots of room to write around it, and that's absolutely fine. It doesn't need to be small and compact, it needs to be clear. So if you do struggle with neat handwriting, and it's something that I'm not the best at, make it nice and big and with lots of spaces between. Anyway, don't get distracted. How many times then does 6 go into 45? Well, 7 times 6 obviously goes in 42 times. So that's close enough. We can't fit any more in. So it goes in 7 times, but not perfectly. The difference between 42 and 45 is 3. So what do we do with that remainder? Now, one answer is to do remainder 3, but that's actually a bit babyish. I don't like that very much. A better thing to do is actually to work out the decimal answer. I'm going to show you how we do that now. All you do, whenever you get to this stage and you've got a remainder left over, is we're going to add some zeros. And if you look, this is completely legal. I'm allowed to do this because 225.0 is still 225. I've not changed it. But what I've done is I've given myself somewhere to put the remainder. So I'll keep my bus stop going. I'll just extend it out a little bit. And now that remainder 3 from how many times did 6 go into 45, which was 42, and remainder 3, I can write here. And now that makes 30. This decimal, I must do a decimal immediately above it as well to keep it all nice and neat. But how many times does 6 go into 30? Well, it goes in 5 times. And that's job done. So my answer now is 37.5. So it works with decimals. How clever is that bus stop? What a good bus stop. If this didn't work out and I needed more numbers, well, actually, all you do, every time you discover there's a remainder, let's say there's a remainder of 1, you can just keep adding zeros for as long as you need. And so, really powerful. Just make sure you leave yourself some space if you think it's going to happen. You can often tell if, for example, there's an odd number and an even number, they often don't go in perfectly. Make sure you leave some space on the side so you can extend it if you need to. But I think that's a really cool method. Again, I'll leave these up on the screen. If you want to copy them down and or go back and rewatch the video and just listen to explanations again and again, please do. I think it's really powerful. We can also look at the explanations they've got here. So again, sorry, if you want to pause the video and just copy these down, by all means do. Hopefully, it's well worth you having a go on your own and then maybe checking your answers compared to mine. So pause it now. If not, we're going to move on. So here we look at the answers. And again, it just sort of shows and explains, using this example, how to set it out and how to go about doing the answers. Now this one shows you the remainder too, but I've shown you what you can do, which is cool. And again, a bit of a higher order skill. So I like to show you that. This is the long division method. Again, if I was, they sort of does it via chunks. However, if I take this example, 427 divided by 25, which I'm going to do, I just want to show you, so 427, that you can actually do it via short division. And again, if you're really confident with long division and that's how you like to do it, brilliant, and that works for you. But if you can do this, it's faster, and faster is quite valuable. So let's have a look. So set up my bus stop. 25 on the outside. 427 on the inside. Does 25 go into 4? No, it goes in 0 times. Does 25 go into 42? Yes, it does. How many times? Well, it goes in 1 time, because it's 125, and there's now quite a big remainder. It's the remainder between 42 and 25. So if you needed to, you could write it out as a quick subtraction, or you could count up in your head. Lots of ways of doing it. For me, I'd probably go from 25 to 30 is 5, to go from 30 to 42 is 12, so that's a total difference of 17. So I'm going to write 177 here. And then how many times does 25 go into 177? Well, I'm just going to count through and do 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175. So it goes in 7 times. And in this case, there's a remainder of 2, which I think is how they left it in their example. So again, the answer 17 remainder 2, which works. But again, I've actually shown you that if you really wanted to work out the decimal, you could. So what you'd end up doing is, oh my goodness, this is going to be a bit of a fun one. But just to show you that it works, I'm going to put decimals. I'm going to add a 0 and remainder 2. How many times does 25 go into 20? The answer is 0. So we now carry the 20 onto another 0. So now I've got 200. And then how many times does 25 go into 200? Well, if it went into 175 7 times, it's going to go into 25 more, which is 200, 8 times. So the answer is actually, the full proper answer is 17.08. And look how cool, that was a really complicated division, but actually it wasn't too bad. The one thing that can be difficult is I realised 25 tables is not something you necessarily practice. If you do find that hard, I recommend just listing them down the side. So 25, 50, 75, and I'm just adding it each time. And that can be quite useful if you're not as strong on your large number times tables. And to be fair, 25 is not too bad, but some of them, I don't know my 18 times table very well. I would probably just have to add it every time. And so on this one, we'd have listed it down. We wouldn't have to go any further than 200 because 200 was the largest number. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I wanted to know how many times it went into 200. I just count 8 down, and that's how many times it goes in. So just to show you that actually the short division method works for everything, although this method is quite good too. But I would certainly recommend, if you can get away with it, try and short divide everything just because it's faster. And it's a really good skill to have in your back pocket because you know it just works for everything. You can power through and just get all your answers perfectly correct. Okay.